Hi. This is Mario representing Group 4 for the paper Gorbachev, A New Foreign Policy by Dimitri. Alex's first observation is Gorbachev's whole focus on his new approach, introducing younger leadership, the focus on arms control, and overall like wanting to pay attention to his international image and appear cooperative while protecting Soviet power. His second observation is on Symes's use of the term like tactical flexibility. He like draws the comparison of like tactics versus strategy, that the Soviet Union is still maintaining their like traditional goals, as mentioned, where which is maintaining control over Eastern Europe. That is the traditional, broad strategy, but has this new tactical flexibility in the ways that he does that. Um, LeBron's first observation. LeBron, I don't know your first name. Sorry, I'm just going to call you LeBron in this. Um, is Gorbachev's struggle to balance the domestic and foreign capabilities of the Soviet Union, um, where he has to keep, internal Soviet elites pleased while making these, you know, pretty sweeping changes to policy, internal and foreign. He can't let the Soviet Communist Party see him as weak or conceding too much, or he'll lose his, power at home. Uh, Alex draws a piece of beautiful imagery of like of a globe that's split between American and Soviet spheres, and a symbolic handshake in the middle that represents the Soviet-American relationship that Gorbachev is focusing so much on. In particular, as the article mentioned at the Party Congress of the Soviet Union, that the East-West relationship is very important to him. LeBron's third or second observation is on Gorbachev's foreign policy and the question of uh, maintaining like the level of independence from the United States in foreign policy. LeBron, I think you misread this part of the article, which is very understandable because I also did. It's written kind of confusingly. Um, it's an American Sovietologist that argues that the most realistic way to improve the Soviet-American relationship is pursuing a policy of relative neglect, um, and not interacting with the United States too much because concessions will lead to arrogance on the part of the Reagan administration. That is what the American is arguing, but I think his article is published in a Soviet journal, which is very confusing. Um, and it's the top Soviet commentator Berlatsky who's objecting to that and arguing, and I think that's closer to the policy that Gorbachev is following, that the Soviet relationship with the United States is too important to put on the back burner for even a relatively short time. Uh, LeBron's third observation is on the Soviet relationship with the other Eastern Bloc countries, that despite Gorbachev like allowing for more autonomy in the other communist parties, that he needs to maintain that the unity of the Warsaw Pact as a bloc, that he wants to especially economically, he needs the Soviet system and the economies of the other Warsaw Pact countries to be unified, because if any of them become too intertwined or dependent on the West, that could destabilize the entire European system. Duncan's first observation is on Gorbachev's focus on arms control and his as the primary issue in his negotiations with the US. Um, that is like the best thing for him to focus on because other areas uh, could, embarrass the Soviet Union internationally. Um, Focusing on arms control is optically very good because it makes him look like the good guy, uh, draws positive associations between Gorbachev, his policies, and just maintaining peace. And Duncan's final observation on Symes's conclusion, I think, is very important. That um, Symes' conclusion is that Russia, the Soviet Union, is trying to assert itself as, an equal, if not superior to the US in the international system, and that makes it reliant on, use of forces in its interactions with other countries. Um, and the only alternative to that would be Gorbachev um, restructuring Soviet policy to acknowledge that it is not a first-rate superpower in the world, and whether or not Gorbachev or the Soviet Union broadly would be willing to do that is a mystery at this point. And that is, I think, largely the conclusion of the article. Um, so that's, I think, my summary.